that we, you know, don't usually qualify through these this stuff. You know, they're usually the top 16ers or even the top 32ers, which usually doesn't get you qualified, but after 16 people are already gone, then it does, right? Yeah, so that'll be good. This is a lot of qualification spots. The unfortunate thing is for North America is that we share with so many different regions now. Oh, I forgot about C. I was mentioning who we share it with in last series, and I forgot C. So yeah, there's no more Australian Challenger thing to go into. There's no more Copa America to go into. There's no more individual. Well, I guess there is still an individual China, but it all gets compiled into WCS North America, so it doesn't. They might have their own qualifier, but they take a slot or two. I think 2 slots away from the one that I cast, 2 days ago. Anyways. If you want to know more information about this tournament, you could always go to the WCS.StarCraft.com, StarCraft2.com website, I think is what it is. But let's be real, guys, who does that? You can always go to Wikipedia, which is probably the much better option. Sorry, StarCraft, but even if your site was really like the tits, Wikipedia is just really, really useful. So anyways, let's introduce the players. In the bottom top, that's top. In the top right is the red Terran. It's Clem for Exceed Esports. And in the bottom left, as the blue Protoss, it is Strange. No, I don't think StarCraft will yell at me for doing this, but I'm gonna put my cat cam on. If I get yelled at, it's all your fault. Because you demanded that I had a cat cam. Okay? Is that fair? Okay, well, we should have the head in there, you know what I mean? Like... Perfect! He's such a well cootie. He's a well cootie. Love him. Okay. So it's a TVP without a proxy. Does Clem like his mid-game tank pushes, or is he still trying out regular games, regular bio? I don't know. I feel like last time I saw Clem, he wasn't doing the tank pushes for the IEM European server qualifiers, which I have to say extra slow because they're very specific. Huh. This was a mistake. Uh-oh. Luckily, a Hellion is a pretty speedy production. Whereas a Cyclone would require not just a tech lab, but also, I don't even know how many extra seconds. Another mistake there. Things not looking like the greatest start for our red Terran. Strange is doing what Protoss do. They basically all agreed. They got into a council. They went into the Twilight Council, as Protoss players go, which is probably his Discord group. And they said, you know what? Why aren't we just constantly chronoing out our Adept and throwing a Stalker at them? And then other Protoss players went, I don't know, why aren't we? And then they all started doing it. So that's what you see every single game. And best case scenario is kind of what happened there. Strange got the... What did he get away in the command center? I was discussing Twilight Councils too often. But he got into the main base, got 2 SCV kills, and he killed the Reaper. And that Reaper being an oddly important thing because you don't know what's following this up. You can guess. It's a strong chance it's going to be Blink follow-up nowadays, but, you know, if there was Stargate, for instance, he could be in trouble since he doesn't have Widow Mine. Okay, he has 1 Widow Mine, so... And he's not covering his bases. So I guess he wouldn't be in that much trouble, because, you know, Oracles don't... Okay, interesting choice. Oracles don't 2-shot anymore, but still. So the Hellion does kind of the Reaper's job, sees Stalkers at the front line, which, again... just kind of moving into that whole guesswork and that it is going to be Blink. Now, when he knows and he figures out that it's Blink, and assuming that Strange doesn't mess up his build, which I don't believe it did, you also are going to know that your medevac job of whatever variety that you're doing is going to be matched with Blink very, very, very closely. Either it's already done or it's on the way, and you have to be careful. So that's a lot of units to already deflect this, and oh my god, if Blink was done, that's a dead medevac. It's Blink is not done as dodge. That wouldn't mind either. These are close calls by Clem, who already had a bit of a rocky start. But things are calming down. Things are getting fixed here. Even unloading his units, realizing that the stalkers could chase that very, very low medevac down. And that is probably the right choice. Strange, how much is he going to commit to these stalkers? We have 3 more gateways on the way, a total of 6 plus a warp prism, so where other Protoss could certainly go for that 3rd nexus right about now, and Clem might see that and even go for a tank push, depending on how he's feeling. In this case, he's going to see that there's no 3rd base and start to just kind of, his name is Clem, but he's going to clam up. Get it, guys? He's going to clam up. Anyways. I got the jokes. So he's going to just turtle up here. And that's gonna be fine. I don't believe the stalkers can do anything. It's something that Strange sees. Nice little Hellion scout there, but oh my god, he's gonna do it. Ooh! Yoo-hoo! Oh, someone with the tricks here, but I don't think it was worth it. So he blinked in 1 stalker to take both tank shots, because I believe he must have figured there was another tank on the high ground. I think he didn't see it. Although maybe that was the problem. He does it again, so soaks a tank shot, so it only gets 1 with a lot of splash damage, but the sheer amount of Marines is where I was like, I don't think it's gonna be worth it. Do they have combat shields? No. Do they have stim? No. But the stalkers aren't exactly the fastest shooting units. They're not bad, but they're not the greatest either. So at the same time that taking a tank shot away is really important, taking a stalker shot away is also important, and they're also overkilling the tank probably, right? So these Marines don't die, and they just get to shoot their DPS, which is great. They have fast DPS. I think Strange is really hoping this would snowball to victory, but because he only took out the tanks and not even a lot of the Marines, this is not quite working out. And now he doesn't have a chance to even try and cancel Stim, which maybe he could have tried doing, would have been really dangerous to do. So Stim's gonna finish, Combat Shields is finished, Slow is a very fast upgrade as well, so that's gonna be done here in just a second. And soon enough, Clem should be like, okay, there's gotta be an observer, and this is annoying. He should be looking for observers, it's just a question, I guess, if he wants to kill them or not. There's another backup one anyways. They greatly reduced the sound of that changing into surveillance mode. It used to be such an obvious sound, but while we heard it, maybe Clem did not. That's usually where the observer is, though. This Liberator has done some damage. I don't know where those 2 probes... Oh, it's 2 SCVs. Oh. Durr. Went down. Liberator got 4 probe kills, and the Warp Prism chooses to play it safe and just leaves after 2 SCVs. That is probably the better way to go. Clem is you know, he really turtled up, and that was the appropriate call. He's now going into that territory of too much. Not yet, but it's like, you know, the longer it goes... Oh. Did he just lose? Okay, that was... Yeah, that didn't... Okay. He lost that medevac, that's too bad. Right, the longer he clams up, the longer that Strange has to get into whatever he wants to do. So in this case, it is Charge, +1, and Colossus. Which Clem, we'll see if he's expecting. The, you know, Korean server, European server meta is probably still a little different, right? I think we've seen more Colossus today than I have in the 3 days of the IEM qualifiers. Liberator once again comes back. Doesn't get the target fire of the probes. Oh, okay, he does. Target fire is 2. Nicely done. Or the stalkers move out of the way, I don't know which. Paying attention's not my strong suit right now. That Liberator was decent. I'd say that's a decent one. Medevac drop is full of Widow Mines, so best case scenario is even if the Widow Mines don't get any damage done, which they do, you save the medevac. So I guess this is the best case scenario. They get damage done and you save the medevac really nicely. Done there for Clem, who has plenty of health to go back in there, and at this point, sacrificing the medevac might even be worth it because 8 probes was a very decent kill. Clem went for a 3rd CC and didn't lose any of the bio army as I was talking about, except for the attempted pickups of the Widow Mines. Just it's tanks and Widow Mines, which are usually a strong backbone of the Terran army, but we're talking against like charge lots. Oh my god, there we go. Like charge out Archon Storm, you know, when you're really trying to hit them before they gather too many, before they get really good upgrades. That's when you need a strong amount of Widow Mines and your tanks on the backside hammering away whatever else there is. Against Colossus, I would take this army over a couple more tanks and a couple more Widow Mines, which is a decent number of Marauders and just, you know, a lot of Marines. Now it's going to need a concave. Strange, I think... with the 8 probes dead, plus the later 3rd Nexus, his army is going to be able to hold when it comes to proper positioning, you know, using chokes, using force fields. It's going to have difficulty if it ever has to move out or reposition. That's the trade-off there. He could have gone for a faster 3rd Nexus behind that blink attack, but instead he kept warping in, he kept them on the front lines, and he tried doing it twice, which did end up going rather poorly for him. And Clem had his own harassment, didn't just stay turtle up and didn't just let Strange do whatever he wanted. Now, is this a good enough choke? I think Strange wanted to find him on the ramp, but it looks like it is, in fact, good enough. It's a strong medevac count to heal a lot of these Marauders, but 3 Colossus that's a lot of damage. Meanwhile, the Warp Prism dropped off the Zealots, which Clem was trying to avoid. I mean, this is a perfect setup usually, but it happened just a little premature. So the Zealots do a lot of damage. They distract Clem as well. And that's 14 SCVs down. Not that Strange is on the biggest worker count. We had 9 workers go down just now with the Widow Mine drop, so a bit of tit for tat, really. And in fact, they've evened up again with Clem in the lead, actually. There you go. So these Widow Mine drops being quite worth it, really keeping Strange in place. You know, this would have been 15 extra workers at least, and that's a fully saturated 3rd base with gases. That's a very big difference. And Liberators are here to help out, but there is a lot of Stalkers, and the upgrades are okay for the Protoss. A Concave is good, but running a little low on the ground army, and Immortals helping chunk through those Marauders. Things are looking a little scrappy for both sides, but I think Clem... Nah, never mind, there's 4 Colossus. Okay. You know, maybe if Clem's army was going to survive for 30 seconds longer, I would have been like, yeah, totally wins, but it wouldn't have survived that long. It would have survived for like 10 seconds longer. So, good pull away there. Because of the constant harassment, you know, this game really has not snowballed out of control for the Protoss. We're not talking about a Protoss who's like a lot of gas is just not taken, is really starting to run forward with the amount of charge lots and Archons, is on 5 bases that we sometimes see from other styles. We're talking about a slower building Protoss who does have a strong army that Clem isn't really directly countering, but passiveness to passiveness here, Clem's good to go. If Strange were to ever push forward and find him in a awkward position because Clem didn't scout the army pushing forward, well, that maybe it's a little more difficult. But with Clem's strong Marauder count, it would have to be one of those situations where Strange just found him like on a ramp or something. Otherwise, Strange moving out into a concave might go poorly for him. So again, like defense to defense. Kind of in a passive point here, so Clem continues his harassment, which is exactly what he should do. Without a Stargate, there's no easy peasy way to clean up the Liberators or even the Widow Mines. If he was patrolling, he could pick them up, right? So this is just going to continue. Strange is going to kind of almost respond to it with his own harassment. Lord Prism did live, but when it tries to go into the natural, it's not going to work out. And ideally for Clem, the planetary will be done, which he's going to need even more zealots than this, and that's a lot of zealots. Scan reveals there's nothing in the main base, and there's also some juicy tech structures in the main base, so this drop is very called for. It goes directly for the upgrades, which he knows he's probably going to fall behind on if there's more chronos into that. So takes away +2 attack. We're now at a position where it's 2-2. Sorry, that was +3 attack, my bad. 2-2 versus 2-2. Instead of having 3-1, 3-2-1 with a shield on the way. That's going to even things up a little bit. Because it wasn't that style I was talking about, like mass charge lots, double upgrades the entire time, we're not having that severe difference of upgrades, but, you know, chances are Protoss gets ahead a little bit. So this planetary's not done. I do believe that was just started a little late, so he was doing other things, right? So the Zealots are kind of annoying, but luckily, at the same time the planetary is late, his army was at home, and I would take that over perhaps the planetary being done. But doesn't grab all the Zealots. He needs to get back into position. Something might have seen this army. He needs to get into a concave. He needs to get his Liberators sieged up, his Widow Mines burrowed, and needs to prepare himself for some EMPs. Now, there's no High Templars EMP or Archons, but getting rid of the sentries would have been a good call. The Force Field's already come down, but there's not enough. Still, floods of Marauders just squeezing their way through here, the left side and right side. And now the Force Fields are all gone. 1 sentry is left over for, I would guess, a Guardian Shield, but maybe Force Fields if he deems it is necessary. 12 SCVs die to the Zealots, I believe, as the Widow Mines pop off, finally take care of them. These units don't seem like very much, and certainly against the might of the army, they're not. But if they come from behind, they could take a couple of crucial Colossus shots out of the main battle equation. Clem right now looking a little low on the ground army, is maybe more so depending on the Liberators to hold on here. Strange is down 30 army supply overall, though, so while it's like, you might not be a ton of units, it's a lot of Marauders. And they do have their upgrades, so the 3 Colossus aren't going to burn them to this army instantly. Ditto for the Ghosts, actually. They're not going to die that quickly to the Colossus. So I don't think this is a good move in. He didn't... Oh my god, it's a disaster, actually. Oh lordy. Oh, nosy. Okay, well that might just be game. That is probably game. Yeah, GG. No. So Strange, he was on his way to a 4th base. In fact, it was done. He was on his way to additional upgrades. He was still stuck on Colossus, and I would have liked to have seen a transition to High Templars, even with the EMPs in the equation. That fight was just not... It wasn't going to go well. He saw an opportunity to catch what was a lower number of Liberators, I guess. There was only 2 that were sieging up, and the other ones had to be moved. But he didn't realize there was a Widow Mine that he literally blinked on top of. And then, you know, as much as, like, a couple force fields could have really changed that dynamic, with the 3rd being so close to the ramp, like 2 or 3 force fields would have covered the army. They weren't there. And the Stalkers blinking forward made sure that they were in range of the bio, even if there were force fields. So I'm guessing that was a split-second decision that he just immediately regretted. But it also might have been some desperation, maybe. The supply didn't look strong, but only down 30 army supply, or even 40, is something totally doable, I think, for Protoss, as they play patient and smart. But maybe it felt like a different game to Strange. He was being harassed a lot. His Zealot attack didn't quite work out. It's all planetary already done type deal. Yeah, who knows? All right, Port Alexander's going to be the next game. I thought that was a rather well-executed PVT on both sides. Obviously, Clem maybe a little bit better as he won, obviously. But also with the harassment going, I think, more his way. I didn't check the total kills of workers, but I think it was only slightly in favor of Clem, because Strange got the big ol' 15, 14, whatever it was, during the mid-game. So I thought it was even, but Clem's was more consistent. So in that way, he was playing a better game. But I really feel like with the type of army Strange had, like, all it did take was calm positioning, a couple of decent force fields, and a few more swipes from Colossus before the main engagement starts for him to take a good engagement. But on the flip side, all it took was Clem finding a concave where the Stalkers all choked up, or, you know, getting to a higher Liberator count, and suddenly it's, you know, it's the Terran's game to win, which it did. So in the top left, he's up 1. Here's the red Terran, Clem. In the bottom right, as the blue Protoss, it is Strange. And Team Blazer. Blazer versus Exceed here. So I think that Strange could take the second game. He had that decent start. They can make things a little bit awkward with the Reaper being targeted and getting into the main base. Not that that truly dictates a game, but there are chances that it really does snowball into Clem not scouting, maybe preparing against an Oracle, or alternatively his drop that we saw barely live gets cleaned up by a Phoenix he didn't realize was going to be out and about, right? Like, things can change off of that, but it went okay otherwise. It was really Strange's decision to go for that double Stalker attack. That is to say, you know, he blinked in once and then he blinked in again. I don't think ended up being worth it. It didn't end the game, in my opinion, but it made it a much slower expansion process and a testier game, since you're on a low number of units. Even though you're, you know, Colossus are rising in number, you still don't have a huge army, so it can be an issue of getting surrounded or concaved upon. I still thought he got himself back into a decent position, and his next foe is going to be perhaps transitioning into Tempest to deal with what was a growing Liberator count. Because he was controlling the game, there was just some harassment that was being sent over towards the ends of that last game, and that was it. Like, there wasn't a huge doom drop, I don't believe, sent out about to change things, you know, really, really quickly. Like, no, he could have controlled Clem, kept tabs on the bases. Can't really do anything about the fourth, I guess, is the planetary, but still kept tabs and gotten to additional tech. But maybe it felt very different for Strange. Maybe it was just a matter of time before Clem got maxed out with 9-10 Liberators and really just pushed for the win. Yeah, there is that. But I'm thinking that Strange doesn't commit nearly as hard to the Stalkers, regardless of whether that was really the turning point of that game or not. I don't think it turned it into a loss for Strange, but it did probably hurt a lot, and he felt like he had to recover from it. But because of that feeling, right, I don't think he's going to do it again. If he goes for Stalkers again, which that I can expect, like, to totally go for it, but I don't think he'll be nearly as aggressive on top of tanks. And there is Blink once again. That's why the council's already done. Port Alexander is kind of an annoying map for Terrans, because even if the Reaper survives, there is no initial Adept Stalker harassment. There's no hop-up spot for them. They could try and go around, right? But there's very easy, simplified choke to defend for Strange once he has units, and that's what he does. So by not going for the earlier Stalker attack, that does give him, I want to say, a bit faster Blink, but I don't know if he's chronoing. Okay, he is chronoing it. So with Clem's medevac on the way, this could be that little bit of a timing difference where the medevac, instead of barely getting out with like 10-15 health, it gets blinked upon as it returns home. And I think that might just be what's happening here. Liberator is going to join up, and that Liberator did help. It got, I think, in total 6 kills. The first Liberator, that is. And then also probably kept Strange warping in one Stalker at a time back at home and keeping him distracted. We'll see if that changes, if Strange is able to just instantly tear that down. Blink is like 80% done here, as the medevac is almost to Strange's base. And he is certainly waiting to kind of just clap back there. Reaper Hellion wants to join on the fun, and that is the weird thing about these medevac drops, is that, of course, the Protoss thinks that they need to split their units. But if they split them, then suddenly the power of a full medevac of Marines and Widowmine, plus, I guess, these 2 units, they do take on 3 Stalkers at a time, and it can get a little weird. It's been a while since we've seen that, so things don't get weird. Clem plays very safe, in fact. With Blink finishing up, he just leaves with a medevac, so there's no chance for it being targeted down, chased after, and Strange is not in a hurry to do that. He's in a bigger hurry to get to double forge. Did he go double forge last game right off the bat, or was it more like a 1 forge then another forge? He might have done double forge right off the bat. I mean, his expansion process was so much slower than we would expect, but it's because he's also going for Colossus. Okay, alright, so we'll say that's the same. Observer is going to see an army moving out, but which Strange is doing, I mean, the 1-1 might not help here. That may be a little bit greedy, sure. An extra 100 that we wouldn't expect. In fact, yeah, okay, he agrees. All right, there you go. So he cancels 200 worth of minerals and gas, and that is a good choice to start that Colossus immediately. He chooses to blink on, oh, the save! Once again, that slow DPS from the Stalkers really screwing up Strange, otherwise that tank's dead. That still is something. There's only 1 SCV to repair, and it's not even repairing, so it's going to be literally 1 shot from 2 Stalkers. These Marines also can be kited a little bit when the tanks aren't sieged up, but the tanks unfortunately get sieged up, and Strange wanted to start things off strongly by sniping a tank and getting out there with only 1 or 2 Stalker losses, loses more than 1 or 2, and also has the rest of them severely injured. But Clem's going to play it safe here. He picks up both tanks, he leaves, he didn't pull a lot of SCVs to make this super dedicated anyways. Their TC is about 75-80% done. Like, that's a fine pullback, even though he might have been able to keep his position. He was probably very worried about actually pushing up the ramp. You know, what else? How many units are going to be reinforced here, right? Because my opponent's not quite on 3rd base, which he confirms now, but probably had an inkling of. So Strange gets the Colossus fast. Now goes back into his 1-1. We'll probably go up to 3 Colossus before feeling, you know, safe on that count. Meanwhile, Clem, you know, he got the Stalker damage done, so that's had to be replaced. He got the upgrades delayed, so now his upgrades are kind of even... Nah, not far ahead, but they're ahead. And things are looking good for Clem with that start, as he saved all of his units for it, too. Tanks, as time goes on, not going to be that useful unless you have more than 2. Maybe if you had 6, but 2 might get a good target fire on sentries. That's probably the best thing they can do. They can also try and target fire down a Colossus, but as the game goes on, that's less likely. Honestly, they usually just get overwhelmed because they're the first things to die as they siege up and you go, oh, shit, the army's right there. Yeah, that's probably what's gonna happen. What happened to Liberator? Did it die? I think it just died. Okay. Yeah, I didn't even see if it did anything. Ouchies. So that was a lot. That was... I'm gonna guess Liberator got a couple of probes that I didn't notice because the game art's not on, but that was still a lot of workers. That was bad. That was bad. That seems to be one of Strange's downsides in the series is that he's not responding very quickly to Widowmine drops. He's sort of recovering off of them, just kind of blazing ahead, running out probes, but they definitely hurt. Lordy. People, am I right, guys? Am I right, mods? People. Anyways, things have once again calmed down, but Strange taking a big blow now twice, really, with so many probes going down to the Widow Mines, and then also taking a hefty loss of expensive stalkers early on in the game. His supply is not that great. This is even worse than I believe last game, where he eventually, when he was attacking, he was down like 30 army supply. Currently, he's down almost 50. Plus, his upgrades are only on par with Clem as opposed to maybe being ahead if it wasn't for a Forge Snipe. But he does have an army that can survive on 3 bases, provided that it has knowledge. And he has an observer here, checking where the army is, if it's moving out. He has observer over here, an observer over there. Like, his knowledge is supposed to be very good. And he's not supposed to take any more damage, but then something like this happens where he suddenly takes 12 more losses, or how many was killed before that? Point is a lot more. Takes another big blow. He would have loved to have already been at 60 probes, right? Fully saturated, probably his gases as well, and now he's still remaking them. That's 150 probes a pop, a production round. So while it seems like it goes by fast, that is so many units. That's so many Protoss units that are suddenly back into probes. It's a big deal, and now Clem is at an absurd number of units compared to Strange. Now up like 60 army supply and going on to equal upgrades. He doesn't have that direct answer to the Colossus again, and that's my only concern, is that the supply, should he get over-eager and just literally run in face first against this, his supply could plummet, but if he's at all patient about this, then that shouldn't be what happens. Strange, in fact, moving out to match the armies, looking for a couple of freebies, as I think he knows he can't take on this army really head-to-head, but he could also put himself into a very compromising position by being concaved upon, or even having Clem pick up all of his units, because whether or not he knows about it is not really the problem right now, because the entire army's on the move. It's whether he can split up his army to defend against 2 attacks, and I don't know if he can. It'd have to be very good. It'd have to be the perfect amount of sentries in one place and all the Colossus in another or something like that. So, we are on High Templars, which don't have storms. It'd be a lovely thing for him to have, because he could start dotting the areas with storms. Good cannon to help him out here. But he's just now getting them for Archons. And unfortunately, Archons aren't going to be too useful as time goes on, because we do have a Ghost Academy. I think the only thing I can really criticize Clem for is he's not very eager to kill observers. I gotta figure he knows they're there. Okay, there we go. But it is a lot of intel that Strange has had in this game. Now, Strange, for a time, was down, like I said, 60 army supply. In the past minute and a half, I suppose as his mineral income finally got, you know, full and saturated again on 3 bases, he's bridged it quite nicely. So maybe if Clem had really pushed, like just gone full bore into the other side of the map and done it 30 seconds earlier, maybe he just wins. But by being patient and trying to really choose his engagements wisely, Strange finds it in him to get that max out on decent units. And this is not a flimsy max out of pure Stalker or something, and he's got those decent upgrades as well. So I thought this was going to look like maybe even a stomp for a second there. No, okay, things chill out again. And in that position where Strange, unless he does a his own too eager, too impatient of an attack, should be good to go. Now his army is also big enough to split. I should mention that too, whereas 2 minutes ago it was not. In fact, he can split rather easily, as he is ahead on army supply, because he's currently behind on workers. Now, Storm is still not in play, but the EMP is just going to be very useful for the rest of this army. Anything that's kind of like yellowish is a good thing to EMP, but also the Zealots, which are very blue right now with the skins. Skins make things different. How do I know what to EMP if they're not yellow? Ah! There's some hallucinated Archons in here, which is nice. It's not likely the Terrans will have continued detection. You know, we don't bring Ravens with our armies half the time. So a scan reveals that they're hallucinated, but then you're already running away from them. So you're gonna have to scan again, or otherwise your units will just AI on top of them. This is not going so hot for Clem. He loses control of the middle ground. There's a ton of Zealots that are still alive and being controlled correctly. We have 5 Colossus shooting from above, and Clem, so confident in his concave, was on his way to Vikings, but not even really that many. Is he still on 1 starport? No, he's on 3. Okay, but I guess it was a little bit too late. He's also trying to get Liberators. Now, this concave isn't so bad, but that's 6 Colossus? 5? I literally said 5. Why did I forget that? He has 5 Colossus that are being microed in a War Prism, so they are doing their full amount of damage very consistently. Even when being microed, it's a very easy pick up and let go. Very quick. So things are not looking good for Clem. He at one point was in a staggering supply lead, and now it's entirely flipped here. I guess he still has an army to fight with, but now he's the one that's choked in. He has to go down his own ramp, down a choke to face this army, which is explicitly good in that situation. Yeah, against charge lots, maybe you can try and bait them into the choke, and the High Templars that are following them are lagging behind. Like, that can happen, but against Colossus, with their range fully upgraded, they're just gonna calmly attack you while you're still racing down the ramp. Clem takes an absolutely huge blow there. 4th base is still on the way, even after losing his 3rd. So this is his 4th, but now he's getting 5th, whatever. That is also a planetary to help out against the charge lots, and maybe against the stalkers as well as they blink in. Wood of Mines are here, and Strange has to be very careful not to repeat last game. So while the stalkers blinked in, they did not take out the Liberators. There we go, now with the help of the Archons, but the Colossus still don't have an answer. Unless you have probably 10 Liberators is a good count to depend on. The Colossus will just rain from above, and even with 10 Liberators, when you have this many Colossus, there's still a chance the Protoss player can go for the win, can go for the battle, and even win it. And that would eventually lead to just a full-blown Game Over 2 win, because we're already so close to Clem's main base. Even with the planetary holding on here, it'd be an easy just hop skip to the natural, and Clem would have to tap out. But Strange is not looking to throw the game here. Last game, he kind of made the game, let's say, easier than it should have been for Clem to win. This game, he did do one maybe regretful blink in, and he also needs to worry about any distractions, so Clem's drop might have been the distraction there. But now that it's done with, he just moves in. He got the position on Clem, who ran out of things to scout with, right? No observers over to the top side, and now going up the choke, even with a couple Wood of Mines, not gonna help against the Colossus. GG. Strange takes game number 2. Despite all the harassment, despite being so far down in supply for a while there, it just wasn't Clem's time. Paul giving you all the best sports you watching TVP impression. What's the idle time tracking? I don't know. Someone else know? I guess it's got to be workers, because there's no idle time otherwise. StarCraft 2 players are always doing something. Once I get the invite and the game starts, I might be right back. I should have gone to the bathroom during our break. as we get into the ace match, it is a good time to remind everyone it's a double elimination tournament. But this is a pretty early time to fall into that loser's bracket. If you fall into the loser's bracket at the qualifying match, you don't quite make it through. You get probably a decent 30 minutes to maybe even an hour to safely go and take a break, because the rest of the bracket's still catching up. At this time, you're just going to have really awkward, like, you're going to have an instant match, and then you're going to have a 20-minute break, and then you're going to have a match, and then you're going to have a 40-minute break. It gets really awkward in the lower bracket. Sometimes it's alright, to be fair, but sometimes it's WCS NA, and it's 9 hours. Alright, and they both correct races? Okay, good. So I'll do the intros and then copy someone else's camera. Darn it! Why? Why do I only do this with WCS 3.0? I don't know why I do that. Game heart! Just instantly shift control 3. Why can't I do the same thing for WCS 3.0? I don't... Something about it. There's a mental block there. In the bottom right, as the red Terran for Exceed, it is Clem. In top left, as the blue Protoss, it is Strange for Blazer. Now let's go to what is hopefully a decent camera. Oh, lordy, I'm already not a fan. Okay. Be right back, 1 second. Okay. If there was a proxy, I'd be back in time to see the Reaper doing damage. Works out well. Oh. Not a fan of this observer. Let's go back to my theme. Okay. Montyun! Big supporter of StarCraft 2. Thank you for that Twitch Prime sub. I don't usually do this, but why not? If you guys have Twitch Prime, and, you know, check it every single month, as you watch this awkwardness go down. Every single month, you get a free subscription to a streamer of your choice. It gives them the full amount as a regular sub would. It's a good thing to have, and if you already have an Amazon Prime account, then you just link it up, and you're good to go. Unfortunately, you know, full clarity here, it no longer gives you ad-free viewing as of some months ago. And if you still have ad-free viewing, I guess the legacy accounts are still in effect. I don't know what's going on with that. But I actually think Amazon Prime is still a decent deal. And this is not me just being technically through a chain of events, right? An Amazon freelancer. But I actually use it myself for the shipping and whatnot. So if you have it, link it. And then make sure to use it every month on any streamer, not just me. Obviously, I'd appreciate it. But it is definitely a good thing to use. That's at least $2.50. $2.50 in the streamer's pocket. Plus, you get a lot of cool emotes. And sometimes you do still get ad-free viewing. The F and the V sounds are very similar, guys. If the broadcaster so chooses. Personally, I don't play ads very often on my channel. And I don't know if they help with pre-roll ads on a certain channel. I mean, you guys might know more than me. If you sub to someone and they have ad-free viewing, does that count pre-roll ads? Because that's honestly the most obnoxious thing about Twitch is pre-roll ads. And if you guys use ad block, don't just say that you like, don't do that. We all know why ad block is necessary many times, but it's a little, oh, I don't know what the word is. It's just a little like, if you want to brag that you have ad block and you don't have to worry about the stuff anyways, you are taking some cents and dollars away from certain streamers. So don't brag about it, but we all know people use it. Anyways, this Widowmine drop is not just 2, but 4. It's gonna pop up on a stalker. Oh no! Well, that was almost a good split. I mean, compared to what could have happened, I suppose it was, but losing a stalker and 10 probes, that is ouch territory. But you know what? Clem did a lot of early game damage and mid game damage. Economy damage to, oh snap, to Strange in last game, and Strange was able to recover from it, but this is getting a little absurd. This medevac might even survive. Oh, the stalkers! You can see that they almost took a shot, but then they paused as they got a little out of range. So that survives for another Widowmine drop later on, hopefully one that Strange is going to be paying attention to, but considering the best of 3, how it's gone, we can almost depend on that to do a few more probes worth damage. Now, with an opener like that, you do spend a lot of time on what is just purely harassment units, for the most part, anyways. And you've used those harassment units, right? You've used your Widowmines, and you've used your medevacs. They're on the offensive, or they're dead, either way. So you don't have a lot back at home, which is why Clem built this bunker and is taking any sort of attack on it very seriously. If Strange were to have a Warp Prism, now with this army just warping in stalkers, he could be in trouble, even with the bunker. But he'd also be doing more damage with the probe, so it would have been a risky choice of Strange to do that. Strange is going to clean things up. He only takes 2 probes with the damage here, which is about as good as it gets. So that's the good news. Helen shouldn't be adding on any damage to that. And the game does go on. Strange just has to keep his head down and continue to macro here, as he's been doing in the past 2 games to almost bring it back. Once again into Colossus, but Colossus and range first, and then upgrades, which we saw last game. He was going to do the upgrades first, but then decided not to because there was a push. Here he probably could have gotten away with the upgrades first, as Clem's next attack isn't quite ready to go. His macro was really on point. Like, he attacked, he did damage, he defended with the bunker, his stamina combat shield is done, his medevac timing is rather good. He could have an instant follow-up and try and catch Strange still without upgrades and only with 1 Colossus, but it's a long map, and you know, there still is a question of what do the Terran players think is going to happen, right? A lot of Terran players, let's be real, are thinking stupid Protoss probably just going to recover off of that with Chrono. It's such a cool spell. And they might not try and see that, look for that opening. Now this quadruple Widowmine drop is once again heading to the 2 bases of Strange. You know, you'd think the way it's supposed to go is that if you're still on 2 bases, it gets easier to defend against stuff. Makes sense, right? But that's not really what's been happening for Strange. So we'll see what this can do. We do have units at the natural, and they could clean that up pretty fast. The Colossus usually only shoots 1 Widowmine at a time when it's dragged like this. Yeah. So it gets a little awkward. But in fact, only 2 Widowmines down in the natural, which aren't going to get the biggest pop-offs, and then attack in the main. But here we go. This is a combination with Clem attacking the 3rd base. But how is Strange's split? His sentries unfortunately go down. One Guardian Shield, the other one with Force Field. So no cancel on this base. And Clem, now really piling on the aggression, is finding those opportunities to actually take advantage of the probe losses. Strange was so often rebuilding probes last game and not being attacked otherwise, not losing army otherwise, that he was still, you know, having value even with probe losses. Or the, you know, some other games it's the opposite. Some other games it's like I didn't touch their economy, but I'm concentrating with their army well enough that I'm still gonna win, right? So this game, it's both. You're trading out with the army really well, and you're trading out with the economy even still. Yes, you're losing medevacs and Widowmines, and a decent number of Widowmines too. So maybe you don't have a solid defense against what would be mass charge lots, but that's not the case here. You know, Clem doesn't really need Widowmines on the front line so much as he needs a concave of Marauders, which he's trying to use here. But you do have to keep this in mind as we watch more medevacs die, because medevac healing is also a big part of the Marauders surviving 2 Colossus beams at a time. Even a Disruptor on the way. I don't mind a Disruptor, but this is one of those rare situations which I kind of think I would have preferred a 3rd Colossus. Upgrades have finished up for Strange, so that's the good news. Clem only at +1. What am I now taking care of? Not that it would have helped too much. Strange loss of his 3rd base, straight up just kill on that is really, really hurting though. Not only does he have to replace so many workers, but also 400 minerals just down the drain. Meanwhile, Clem, 3 base, almost saturated, desaturated, extra productions on the way. His +1 is almost done, so that'll be even. Now Strange, no longer depending so much on just surviving with a defensive army, which he's doing a good job with. He's got a lot of force fields here too. But he's also pretty much depending on these Disruptors getting really big shots. And the good news about Disruptors is that the Marauders can't just survive through them. If they get hit by a Disruptor, they will die. But a bit of an awkward engagement. I was surprised that Strange spent so long not firing a Disruptor and then putting down force fields. Like, you can try and bait the Terran into thinking, oh, I can totally take this on, and then they run forward. But he used his force fields because his sentries were dying. They still died anyways. This is actually just looking like an all-in from Strange, who finds a couple of reinforcements. They're kind of expensive, but then gets concaved on. 2 Disruptors, going to try and get to the best hits. This is nothing but Marauders here. They're going to survive through the Colossus for sure. 2 Marauders per Disruptor, I think, is what happened, but it doesn't end up mattering. They would have needed to hit all the Marauders.